Welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. NumberNine.
And this is The Fool.
Your 96 best place to listen to...
For 10 years.
Yes, for our 10th season of our mostly up-to-date...
And unqualified. And unrequested.
ramblings of the various issues in the world of sport.
Or something like that.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the cast. We are going back to the ultimate bread and butter. We're going to do the end of season review.
Yeah.
May Madness, or
Woo.
June Madness. And we're looking at every single football season we care about.
Yep, I think that sounds about right.
Now, we'll start off with the big enchilada, the Premier League.
Yeah.
A down year for the club league. They finished third in the coefficient, so not as dominant in Europe as they would have liked.
Yeah.
Only one team making a European final, but overall, that's a very competitive season. But you gotta think of, come on, Arsenal, Liverpool. This was your chance. This was a City down year.
Yeah, no, exactly.
They had 91 points, and you couldn't beat them.
Yeah, I know. Disappointing.
Like,
Disappointing for them all.
I don't know if Pep Guardiola is going to resign or if he's going to take a break after 5 years. He has implied very strongly that he will take a break after 2025.
Yeah.
And should he do that, maybe there will be more of a chance. But I don't know. City still are really good.
Yeah. So it's a down year for them, but they still scored 91 points and 96 goals. So.
Yeah, after Pep left Bayern Munich, winning 3 in a row, they won another 7.
Yeah.
Bundesliga. So, yeah, it's not impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's still a good squad. It's still got the structure and everything set up well there. Like, just taking Pep out is not going to necessarily destroy everything. So,
yeah,
they're going to be a good team going forward.
Yeah. Also, obviously, we have to put an asterisk on terms of their title numbers because we don't know what's going to happen with that 115 charges. But I don't want to talk about that. Even as a Manchester United fan, I think the players aren't part of that. They've performed. Pep has kept them motivated. What Pep has achieved is still remarkable. Even if every single trophy gets taken off Manchester City since the takeover of the Abu Dhabi investment group, you can't take what Pep's done. Nobody's been able to do what he's done.
No. I guess the argument is it's easy to do that with a team full of great players that you bunch numbers on how to get the salary in. So especially like with, I don't know about Pep, but Roberto Mancini, there's an implication that he got paid way for, like, he would get paid at the end of every year an extra £400,000 or £500,000 for doing like appearances and like consultancy work in Abu Dhabi for marketing. Yeah.
I mean, nothing proven. These are all alleged.
Okay? Yeah.
Alleged, and this is a proper case that the Premier League is going to have to put forward, because if the Premier League does prove their point, there is potentially people going to go. The real police might get involved because that's fraud. Actual fraud.
Yeah, there's that too.
Potentially actual fraud. So this is why it's really important to say these are all being alleged. This is why it's so different, why they're fighting every second, every tooth and nail, because there is potential for not just losing titles and big fines and being relegated to the National League. People in charge could go to jail, be banned from owning football clubs, etc.
Yeah, exactly. There is a lot there that can happen, which also makes it
hard to talk about as well, because it's uncertain about
Yeah.
what will
It is
happen.
completely uncertain.
Yeah.
I don't think Manchester City fans deserve this. They
No.
didn't ask to be bought by rich billionaire. I'm sure their fans have enjoyed winning stuff, but Manchester, they were there with the club when they were in the old third division league, Division 2 it was called back then, and now it would be League 1. And they helped in the lowest times. They were stuck by their club, and they went, and even if the owners get removed and they're relegated to the National League, I have no doubt Manchester City will come back to the Premier League. It might take time. Sunderland's not back in the league.
No.
Premier League yet, but the fans and will stick by them, and they have a great stadium, so there is all the seeds to still make a great club there.
Yeah. As we've said before, it'll be a great Netflix special, and I for one look forward to watching it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, that would be hilarious if Pep Guardiola decided to stick with them, and he doesn't have a bunch of superstars, and he's playing with semi-pro players at Manchester City, getting them all the way back to the Premier League. That will make him the real GOAT.
That would be the GOAT.
No question whatsoever. And without the money he goes on to lead Manchester City to a Premiership title, then you just go, okay, no questions whatsoever.
Okay, I've got a random question leading on from that. Let's just have a scenario where City have been fined lots and removed from the league, so they're re-registered back down
the National League,
at the Nice Pub League. What's the better story? Pep Guardiola managing them back up, or Jose Mourinho? Jose Mourinho will be funnier.
Jose would be funnier, but I think it would be just like the story that Pep Guardiola buys the club for a peppercorn payment and becomes an owner and a coach and leads the team back up by himself.
Owner manager. That's a pretty cool story. But yeah, that's what I was wondering. It's like, well, we can have Jose Mourinho.
Jose would be cool as well.
Just imagine him in the National Conference League, just doing his conference.
I know.
Press conferences as
Guardiola would be the owner, and Jose's his manager.
Yep, okay. That sounds perfect. I just wanted there for the
friends in Barca when they were learning their craft. They reconcile and they bring the blue Manchester team back to the Premier League together.
Arm in arm.
Now that's a Netflix special.
That is a Netflix special right there.
But as you said, four-peat, nobody's done it before. They did the treble last season. It's an incredible achievement. You can't give Manchester City anything other than A+, because come on, Champions League, they drew Real Madrid. What can you do?
Yeah.
And they played they pushed Real Madrid all the way to the edge. Those were incredibly close games. And both and City just lost. And FA Cup, they managed to meet Manchester United on a day where Manchester United played the FA Cup final. Manchester United just outplayed them that final.
Yeah.
But even then, they looked like they might have come back to win, because that late goal had me thinking, oh man, United are just going to concede another one. This is what they've done all season, but they held out. I'm not complaining. Incredible for me. Then, and obviously they won the Carabao Cup. So 2 trophies.
Yeah.
Can't not give them anything but an A.
Yeah. Exactly.
So next, speaking of A, Arsenal. What are your thoughts?
I mean, they've
probably A+ for City, right? They still won the league with 91 points, easily. Nobody ever thought they weren't going to win the league.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think we give that. I think Arsenal is a second season in a row of. I mean, it wasn't like last year where it was just the the big old bottle job, but second season in a row of almost getting there, but not being able to get themselves across the line. I mean, they scored more points. They scored more points this season, but still,
But losing to Crystal Palace, Brentford at the crucial times of the season, that's I'm not saying those were choke jobs, but they were out tacticked in those games.
Yeah, exactly. It's you have it there, you're so close, and yet you just can't quite do it. So you can't, it's not necessarily a choke job, and I think last year was much more of a choker's performance, but it's hard to shake that moniker if you keep losing.
It's some sort of A, right? It's some sort of A. They made it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
They scored more points than last year. I think they scored more goals than last year. Yeah.
Or A, I think A. A minus is, I think, a bit harsh.
A. Yeah, say on all metrics they did better than last year. And last year was super awesome. So you can't really mark them down. It's just it just feels like, come on, Arsenal, 2 years in a row. I don't really want to be rooting for you to win the thing, but come on. So I think
if it was a choice between Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester City, I want Arsenal.
Yeah.
As a United fan.
I mean, I'd probably go Liverpool, but this year Liverpool was more out of it.
Yeah. Liverpool, I think Klopp announcing his leaving when he did spur the players on into a great performance for a while, but then it kind of ran out of steam.
Yeah.
They got a lot of injuries. That being said, in the Europa League, they drew Bayer Leverkusen. Can't complain. They were a team on form, absolute fire, and in the FA Cup. I mean, come on, man! You guys lost to Manchester United, and we didn't play that well. And they. It was a very shaky performance to lose to Manchester United in that FA Cup tie. I don't know. I can't give them an A, but I think a B, solid B.
I was still giving them an A.
B minus. Not a B minus, just a B.
I was still going to give them an A, maybe an A minus.
Because they were disappointing in both cups and in Europe.
They were disappointing, but they still finished third. They still made, quarterfinals, semi-finals. So, I can't.
They lost to Manchester United in a cup. Come on. And it was really disappointing in the Carabao Cup as well. Two teams they should have beaten, Chelsea and Manchester United, in the cup.
Yeah. I mean,
especially that time of the season, Chelsea were in shambles, and Manchester United were not in were in shambles at that point.
That was sort of
well.
the very start of our rebuilding.
Still
shambles, but it was the beginnings of the rebirth. But in the end, Liverpool still third, still 80+ points.
Yeah,
no
okay,
trophies.
You're right. A
minus.
You've convinced me. That's an A. A minus. I agree.
I'm happy to mark them down a part grade just because they didn't actually win anything and they probably should have.
Given they're a 14 points ahead of fourth place, I think that's fair. Aston Villa following from them, obviously A. At least A.
At least A. I mean, come on, I think even A+ is welcome.
Unai Emery showing his worth as a manager. They couldn't win the final, but these things happen. Yeah. Absolutely. In a one-off game, but they play against Olympiacos. But Aston Villa making it to the Champions League, they're gonna have extra money next season. They're gonna, depending on how they rebuild, they've got a great academy. I don't know if they'll finish top 4 again next season, but we expect Aston Villa to be a European qualifying club now, right? They're meant to be there. So Aston Villa, A definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
A plus, I agree.
Yeah.
Tottenham Hotspur, a club that should have finished top 4, I think.
But I think definitely be disappointed not to have finished top 4.
A lot of times they played really well, but they were very naive. A lot of things like their set pieces, like you don't. I know Ange is really big on this is our philosophy. This is just the way we play. When they just keep attacking, and that's fine. But having a big attacking philosophy doesn't mean you don't work on your set pieces. Like this is modern day football, right?
Yeah.
You have a set piece coach, you have a throw-ins coach, even nowadays some teams.
Yeah.
You've got I think a lot of teams are getting into throw-ins coaches, like what you can gain out of it. You've got a free kicks coach. Everything's done, and you have like Brentford. Think about how many extra points they make every season just because they're so good in set pieces, both defending and attacking on there. And Spurs could have been top 4 in this, maybe even third if they had focused on it. This team has still had but you got to take into account that they lost Harry Kane.
Yeah.
They have a new manager. It was really terrible vibes at the end of last season, so I think finishing 5th is still pretty good. I think A minus,
B plus.
B plus. A minus, B plus is about there, right? Because they're given where they started the season, like. What they've ended up with is really good, but we know that they could have ended better.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, I think either A minus or B plus seems about right for them.
Actually, I might give them the A minus, just because thinking like last year they finished outside European spots.
Yeah.
That was, say, quite a disappointing thing. So they scored more points than last year. Scored more goals. Won more games. So we'll give them an A minus. Got back into Europe, so.
Exactly. And if their compatriots from England had played better in Europe, they might have qualified for Champions League with 5th place. Next up, we have Chelsea. What do you think?
Alright, so first half of the season, Z. Second half of the season, B. Maybe B plus. Like as we went further into this last half of the season, it got better. So it's positive.
I think Mauricio Pochettino did a remarkable job at Chelsea, given where they were at, how many players he had to bed into this new system. Get everything working. He had a full window, but other than Cole Palmer, they couldn't get too many players in. I think Chelsea, the way they finished is remarkable. It's almost inspirational. I think B for sure overall for the season. Maybe B plus.
I say that first half of the season was so shambolic though. Like if we could have played anything like we did in the second half, especially this last quarter, through that first bit, who knows where we could have ended up. It would have been a lot better season. But to be down sort of 10th, 11th, 12th at the end of December, beginning of January is not where you want to be.
But I think that all those performances at the end of the season, they're built on that hard work and hard yards you guys put in to get to that position. They.
Oh no, it started to come together, and it's good. It's just a pity it took.
The losses made the team stronger. They learned to recover, mentally recover from losing, and then losing your the mental aspect of Pochettino's management style came together. I think far later into the season, he was very good about not criticizing his players, letting them, just letting them cook, taking his time to get them to learn in his system. He complained a lot, I think, about injuries and sometimes reffing decisions, but his I think he kept most of kept most of the players really well motivated to get that performance, especially given how demoralizing it must have been at some points of the season. Chelsea is one of those clubs. There's always chatter, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's a less toxic Arsenal in terms of the Twitter and the fan base, which is not saying much because Arsenal.
Yeah. No. No, the fan base is sort of split between absolute ragging on whoever they want to rag on versus the ones that are like, it just all needs more time and be supportive guys. But I mean, the problem still is the defense. It did, once Pochettino made a bit of a shape change at the end of the year there, which was mostly the deal with Enzo being out injured, it did make everything a lot better. So it'll be interesting to see come the next year and whether the new manager manages to keep that. If we change again, that's, I don't know. Have to see how we're doing there.
I don't get it. I don't get why he's fired. I think it makes no sense.
I think less him fired and more him leaving. But neither of them. Both sides have only put out positive press releases and press about it, and how it was just time to leave and like their times. But I mean,
that's not really a good look for Chelsea, right? Like one season and it's already time to leave.
Yeah.
Like,
so I mean, it doesn't. There's something there that's missing. And I get the feeling like this is coming from the fan base, so it's wild speculation. But it does appear that the issue more is just how Todd Bowley and co are running the club, and that they want to have a very sort of hands-on managerial thing where they make the big decisions and they're making big plays and whoa, this is going to be great. Yeah, I think you may have mentioned it in a different forum, that they're playing Football Manager, and it feels that way sometimes where they're trying to make the big moves in this thing and be like this super awesome thing, and they're trying to get a cool coach, but the big coaches are like, that's not how you do it. Like, let me do this for you because you clearly don't know what you're doing. And they're like, no, we're buying this and this and this and and we're going to make them have a 8-year deal, and then we're going to have FFA over all this, and then it's going to and then like, I think Poch just was like,
there are some very, very qualified people at Chelsea in the staff, like as in your general manager and your director, all of them. I'm not.
No.
But I do think that if you don't see eye to eye with them, no matter how good they are, that's gonna end badly for you.
But that's just how I feel. Is that I feel like there is a set of people wanting to do one thing and a different set of people with at the more football end who are like, that's not really working for us and not really feeling like they're getting the ability to put the input in. So that's why they're sort of coming and going so quickly, because they're not able to have any input into it. Or in the case of Thomas Tuchel, were asked for more input than they were comfortable with. Like, there's not a balance being sought there about the right level of communication and input from the coaching staff, the managerial staff, the team managerial staff, into what should be happening in the club overall.
If the GM or the director and chairman do not see eye to eye with the coach, then that's a valid reason to leave, and it's fine for both players to be both parties to be professional about it. Be like, oh look, didn't work out. That makes sense.
That's a bit why I think that's what's happened, because both parties are being very professional about it. So,
but also it's weird because obviously Chelsea's gonna have to pay a lot of money in compensation. They've had 3 different managers. They have to pay Tuchel, they have to pay Potter, now they have to pay Pochettino.
And we're paying who was it? Enzo Mascaro. We're paying like 10 million.
Coming in.
Paying like 10 million to Leicester to get him off his contract. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot of money being spent on managers.
Yeah.
By chopping and changing. Like, one of the things I think is Manchester United are not going to get rid of Ten Hag just purely to make him see out his contract next season.
Chelsea are just good at wasting money. I mean, we still have Lukaku on our books, so he's like taking up $30 million worth of FFA salary cap, or salary stuff, and who else was there? There was them. Was Kepa still on our books? He's taking up another 15 or 20 million or something like that. Ridiculous as well. Not just salary. This is on their value and how much book value they have still left on the books. So that has to be covered by profit to meet FFA, or have to meet revenue has to meet that thing. So like we've got two players which don't play, are not going to play. Basically taking up 50 million, maybe slightly more in revenue. So we'd have to sell more than that to buy new players in. It's just like, and these are players that just are not going to get sold because they're like, we're currently on a salary from you from ridiculous, and nobody else is going to pay that. So we'll just wait till our contract dies out. Thanks, you can loan us out. That's fine. Whatever.
It's like Chelsea have learned nothing from the Winston Bogard.
Yeah, exactly. Now we've got two of them.
Yeah, they were like, that was so good, we want more.
It's just, it is ridiculous. And I mean, that's not taking into account like Raheem Sterling and who else we've got. I think Hakim Ziyech is still in our books, though. I think his loan deal included after a loan deal for a year, but then it was a clause to buy everything, and it sounds like he's going to get bought from that. And Raheem Sterling, I'm happy to stay, but he is taking up a reasonable amount of the books as well. So it's like, what are you going to do? Like these are all that are using up more space than even Enzo or Cole Palmer or anybody else who's actually contributing to the team, but are still expensive. So.
Yeah, and Cole Palmer is going to ask for more money. It's inevitable.
Oh, of course. I mean, this is not even taking into account salary. Salaries are even on top of this. This is just pure book value of the players. So.
Yeah, but those are the those amounts are amortized over 5 years, right?
But that is the amortized value. So like Lukaku's, luckily him and Kepa only got a year or so left on the ridiculously big contracts that they got. So they can only waste our time for another year or so. I think Kepa's one more year, so he'll probably be happy to be sold. I think Lukaku's got a couple more years on the contract, so he'll probably get loaned out again this year and then look to get sold. But yeah, and say Ziyech is off, that will go. So
you can go to Fenerbahce.
Yeah.
With Jose.
With Jose, yay! So we're finally in the Turkish league next year, right?
Yeah. We're gonna see what's the haps in Turkey.
Yeah.
We'll all suddenly become experts about the eternal rivalry between Galatasaray and Fenerbahce and Besiktas.
Yeah.
You know.
I can't wait. It'll be hilarious, I'm sure.
Yeah. All these places whose names we only know from EU4 and CK2, like Trabzonspor. Like, is that in Trabzon? Oh, I know where that is. I was a duke of there once.
Exactly. I think I led a crusade through there or something. I can't remember.
We've all led a crusade through Anatolia at one point.
Yeah. It's just what you do.
Probably because your father was trying to kill you off in a weird plot, right? Yeah. Like that's always how you end up starting a crusade.
Yeah. Well, generally, actually, I started crusades to kill off my sons, but.
Yeah. But you also are on the receiving end of that. Like the AI has gotten better at CK2. But all that being said, I think B is fair.
Yeah. I'm happy to give them a B. Say at the end of the season showed promise, so I'm feeling a bit more positive about it all. And 6, nearly 5th. Like
Yeah, Conference League. If Manchester United had lost the FA Cup, you guys would have been in the Europa League.
Exactly. Though Conference League's fine, we'll just add to our trophy collection next year. It's a new trophy.
Yep. New trophy. After Chelsea, Newcastle United, I think I would be a bit generous. I think B+. They had a lot of injuries. They had some great performances in Europe, like beating PSG, something for their fans to return back to the Champions League after so long. Since the Bobby Robson era. I think Newcastle, overall, it's second season syndrome, sort of, for Eddie Howe, but I think he's doing a good job. I would give them a B. They're still at that stage of the project.
I'm happy to give them a B, the same as Chelsea. Like, I feel like they slightly underperformed this year. I mean, second year-ish syndrome. They had Europe to deal with, Champions League. It is, despite the fact that City, Arsenal, Liverpool tend to be at the top these last few years, the City and Arsenal up there, the league is actually fairly competitive, so they actually won as many games this year as they did last year. One less, I think it was 19 games last year. Yeah, they won 19 games last year for 71 points. And this year they won 18 games for 60 points. And 7th as opposed to 4th. So, go figure that.
It was a very competitive league. It doesn't help that you had such a, like the lower order the low end of the table was very bad.
Yeah, exactly.
This season.
I mean, the other thing is Newcastle scored, I think, just about 20 goals more this year than they did last year. So,
yeah,
that sort of shows a lot.
Absolutely.
I mean, the defense was shocking, but then this year's everybody's defense felt a lot worse than they did last year. Save Arsenal and maybe City, but I mean even them. Well, City's about the same. Arsenal's the only one that's been better defensively than basically.
Yeah, that's basically the Declan Rice effect.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, everybody else was actually reasonably worse defensively. So, yeah. Yeah,
and I don't know. Like, there's going to be Euros this season, so it's hard. The players are going to be tired coming back, other than Haaland.
Yeah.
He just doesn't play international football. It's passé, right?
It's passé. Yeah, why bother?
Why bother?
But yeah, I think Newcastle will be fine. Like I say, it's a passable season. They didn't really do much worse in terms of playing than last year. They just played more because they were in the extra competition and ended up slightly lower despite not really doing that much worse.
Yeah, and a lot of players also kind of lost form with injuries for Newcastle. That can happen as well. Overall, like, I don't think I would be too unhappy if I was a Newcastle fan. Like, not making Europe is a bit disappointing.
That's very disappointing. I mean, they got themselves into 7th, so, I mean, that's doing things then, you say. Man United going and winning the FA Cup. It's like, well, you did get to the position to be there, and then outside influence took it away.
Exactly. Yeah, but I do think they're going to do pretty well next season as well. We'll obviously have to see how their window goes. But yeah, I don't think Newcastle are a club looking for a manager at the moment. No. Overall, they're still working through their project. Next up, we have Manchester United, team that finished third somehow last season and are now currently 8th. They did win an FA Cup. That does paper over a lot of cracks, but this is clearly the team that's underperformed the most this season, I think, in terms of quality of squad and players available. Though they did have a lot of injuries. There's a lot of shenanigans at the club with ownership and what the new people want to do. Obviously, that's distracted things. All in all, I can't say anyone's happy with this season. They were absolutely smashed in Europe. The fact that they managed to win a trophy at Wembley is obviously amazing. So that probably just pushes them above a passing grade, I think, Manchester United. And they also have a bunch of really good young players come up to the team and make debuts and gain experience. I think this team, this performance, C-, just passing.
Just passing. I was giving them a C or a C+. I mean, yeah, it's a bit disappointing. But once again, it seems to be a period of this. I mean, they still somehow... No, they scored exactly the same amount of goals this year as they did last year. Lost more, didn't win as many games, obviously, but hey, when you're there. I did notice that United seem to have they've been the least consistent, or just about the least consistent team the last few years, where they've been high and then low, then high, then low, then high, low, low. Like they're all over the place in the top sort of 8 or 9 coming into the season. Like they're just no consistency at all. Just beware of it. Roll the dice.
Consistency is passe.
Yeah. I think that's Man United's new slogan. It seems to be it. So yeah, I'd say it's a passing thing. They got into Europe, so it's a step down from what they were. Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's gonna help them with profit and sustainability, PAS. Now, the next club we have is West Ham. Obviously, they had a great high last season, but David Moyes managed to put them back into mid-table. They got pretty far in the Europa League. They lost to Fiorentina, who eventually won. So that's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah,
I think. It is his last season there. I think, to be fair, this is what I feel like is we've both kind of done as much as we can with each other, and it's time to move on.
Yeah.
David Moyes has proven he's back, and what a good manager he is. I think, like his time, he's recovered his reputation. He's won a trophy in Europe, first European trophy for West Ham in his career. So he's gonna go down as a West Ham legend.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think you can't really complain too much about their season. I think B-.
Yeah, I think so. B-, maybe C+. I think it's about the same. Let's go with B-. They did better than last year in terms of league positioning.
Definitely, they weren't in the relegation.
Never really
looked.
Yeah. So
I'm
happy with B-.
Yeah, I understand that the West Ham fans and the owners are more ambitious with what they want in the club.
Yeah.
And maybe that's fair, but also, the David Moyes has done a lot more with this team than you could have realistically expected.
Yeah, and you sort of look above the 8 above them, and you sort of look and go, which of them are they realistically going to be beating on a regular basis? I mean, sure, United and Chelsea playing dog pants the last little bit, but we still have stuff there. Like Aston Villa, overformed, so West Ham can do that sort of thing, but the rest of it, I think you have to accept that there is, if you're wanting to be a top club, then there is 8 other clubs currently, if not more, if you include the likes of Brighton and Fulham and Brentford, who are further down this list and had a worse season. this season, but in previous years have put in good performances. That's a lot of clubs trying to fit into a limited space. So you have to put up with that. Sometimes it's not going to work. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's that, and I'd be with West Ham supporters and saying, yeah, it's a bit of a disappointing year. You expect it more. It's not the worst of things. Got 52 points. Never really looked too troubled. Did drop a little bit, but made it back to a reasonable spot.
Yeah. But
can't complain.
Also,
can't complain. It's a can't complain season. It's not great.
Can't complain season for sure.
Yeah.
But also, they have to be careful because things could be a lot worse. This was a very weak group of teams, or at least a very weak performance from the group of teams that got promoted from the championship.
Yeah.
I think we were expecting a lot better, at least from Burnley, who sensationally in the championship. So we're definitely gonna have to watch this space carefully. Every club that finished mid-table around there, I think below 10 have to think about what are they gonna do when the next season, because they have to be better. Leicester, I don't think are going to be as bad as Burnley were.
No.
Because Leicester was competing to get into the top 4 before.
Yeah. Leicester had a few bad years, and they suffered for that. I think Leicester's still a better club than
Leicester, a very unlucky club, I think, because they had to roll the dice. They were forced to roll the dice, their owners, during COVID. They run on tourism.
Yeah.
And what did we not have during COVID? Tourism.
Yeah. Exactly.
And Leicester's always run itself sustainably. It's never been sugar daddy club.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though their owners are really good, they've got a great setup, and they just had to be look, do we lean on our thing of getting really young players and do the 7-year long contracts that we're doing and then sell them at a profit, or do we go for it now in the COVID era, which is what every club did, by the way.
Yeah.
We were allowed to have a little bit of extra spending. We used that to compete and push ourselves up the table, try and get into Europe. It didn't work, but at the end of the day, I respect that they took the gamble. They took an attacking thing, and you can't say it was the wrong decision. Things just played out badly, and for them. But they had a good enough team to do. They had a good enough team and a good enough manager to do that plan.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it did sort of work for a couple of years. It just, when it stopped working quite spectacularly. I think it's just...
Yeah, well, Brendan Rodgers got them an FA Cup, right? That's nothing to sneer at. Once again, Leicester have this century won every major trophy in English cricket. They've won the League Cup under Martin O'Neill back in 2001, and they won under Claudio Ranieri the league, obviously, and then they won the FA Cup. So,
Yeah, exactly.
They've been relegated multiple times in that season. They're weird. But without going into the Leicester thing, I think, was it B for West Ham?
Yeah. I think, or maybe B minus. B minus.
B minus?
Plus. I'll give them a B minus, I think. I think you're right though. Them and a few others probably on notice next year. I don't think the clubs coming up next year are going to be as poor as the promoted clubs this year. I think that's going to make things a little bit more troublesome.
Let's be clear. If Everton didn't get a points deduction, they would have finished much higher.
Well, they would finish 10th. Or because they would have 10 points? 10 points deduction, right? Yeah. So they would have finished 10th. So yeah.
Yeah, and they would have been competing with West Ham for that position, and they will be better next season, I think, with Sean Dyche.
Yeah.
So, and then there's Brighton, who are not going to be as bad, and we've got Bournemouth, who are not going to be as bad.
Yeah. Crystal Palace is always pretty good.
Every season. Crystal Palace seem to be on the improve as well, and Fulham seem to be on the improve. Who knows about Wolves?
Yeah, Wolves are
like, and who knows about Nottingham Forest?
yeah.
So with all that being said, I think we've given them the B. Crystal Palace, what do we think? They finally managed to finish 10th, crack the top 10.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like they've done reasonably the same as previous years, but thanks mostly to Everton getting 10 points deduction, managed to get to 10th. So yay! Even though I feel like they've pretty much done the same as they have for the past 3 or 4 years, like same points, same wins, same everything.
Yeah, Crystal Palace though, it is a new era. They've got a new manager. I think you should be excited if you're a Crystal Palace fan. There's a lot to look forward to. They play a pretty exciting type of football at the club as well. I think given they had to switch managers in the middle of the season with Roy, I think overall it's a good performance. I think B+ for Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I would have probably put them more in the B, but just because it's not that big a difference. But mostly just because like they did well, but they did the same as they've done the last few years. I do know things are on the improve, so I expect better from them next year, or potentially the fact that, as I say, I don't think there's going to be as poor teams next year as there was this year, unfortunately. I expect them to do the same, but that would be an improved performance, just keeping themselves in that sort of 9, 10, 11th spot.
Exactly. And I think for Crystal Palace, they're going to move into their big new stadium next season as well, so we'll see the fruits of their investment and how the club takes advantage of that in the next few years.
Yeah.
So they're definitely an interesting club to follow for their fans. Next up, we have the team, their eternal rivals, Brighton and Hove Albion. Kind of a disappointing season for them.
I think so.
They didn't do well in Europe. I think they started off really good, and then De Zerbi very obviously got distracted by those Liverpool rumors, and Liverpool very openly courting him.
Yeah.
And then going with somebody else. I mean, these things happen, and he's leaving at the end of the season. Be very interesting to see how Brighton do next season. I think they would be rightfully disappointed. C, just about.
Yeah,
they never threatened relegation. They should have finished in the top 10, if not top 5, but top 10 definitely. This is a club with that sort of quality of player in their club.
So I think you're right. They would be disappointed. They've had a lesser season than last season. They're probably more on par with the few seasons before that. Say not the greatest, but at the same point, like you say, they never really looked like they were getting relegated. I'm going to have to change over one moment.
Back.
Sorry, I'm back.
Cool.
I'll have to remember that and timestamp, so that when I edit this, I'll take this bit out and change over the inputs. But hey, I say that Brighton would be a bit disappointed where they are, but at the same point, there's nothing really problematic with their seasons. So C seems a good grade. Like it's past, it wasn't really that problematic. Maybe a C+ because, say they never looked like relegation, they didn't look in trouble.
Finished below Crystal Palace, I'm sure they're not happy.
No, I'm not saying they're happy, but it's,
like, you never want to finish below your biggest rivals.
No, so C is fine. I was thinking it's not that close to a fail, but at the same time it's not great, so.
Yeah. Next up, we have AFC Bournemouth. I think you gotta give them at least an A-. They're the smallest club in the league in terms of, amount of the stadium, in terms of probably the value of the squad and how they buy players. A bunch of their decisions they made before, it just seems to have worked. Like, they changed their manager. Everybody thought that was crazy, because last season not getting relegated for Bournemouth was incredible.
Yeah.
Like, we were lucky to not be on their diss track, you and I.
Yeah.
Definitely. And they are back here. I think Bournemouth are slowly but surely making their way up the league.
Yeah.
They've got a great manager who next season I think will do better. Obviously their owner, he seems to be really, really smart, which is great for Auckland FC.
Yeah.
Where he's the owner as well, though it's a bit weird because he is the owner of a Brazilian club, I believe, Botafogo, and he's accused the referees of being corrupt.
All right.
And he wanted to take them to court legitimately, but it's in a weird way seems to have worked because they didn't end up it seemed to have taken pressure off his players, and also they didn't take him to court because he threatened to do it first. It's weird. But Botafogo had a real bottle job in the Brazilian league, one of the greatest bottle jobs ever. They were literally in the last 6 weeks 13 points ahead and lost by 4 points.
Wow, that is some good work. Really.
Now, he does own a few other clubs. I think he's Bournemouth. I think are gonna do really interesting things in the off season, but you can't complain about this season. I think, given they were in transition and all these other things, I think A for Bournemouth.
Yeah, I'm happy giving them an A minus. So once again, never really looked like they were going to be in the relegation battle.
Yeah.
And say, given their size and everything, that's pretty good. And they ended up 12th, which is very good. It's all better than last year. So yeah, let's give them an A.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, we have Fulham. The Cottagers. I think they had a pretty decent season with Marco Silva. They had they lost a few players to Saudi Arabia and injuries. But, you realistically expect Fulham to do better than Bournemouth. So I think B minus, maybe C plus.
I think C plus. I think, it's a decent season. Once again, never really looked in trouble, looked fine. But if I was a Fulham fan, I think I'd be disappointed. Just, it felt flat, like it never really got off. You say they ended up under Brighton and Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. So you sort of feel like, as a Fulham fan, you'd want to be above those teams. You want to be that. I mean, it's not much. Yeah. It's only 2 points to Crystal Palace, right? So it's not like they're a mile away. It's a few things here and there. They had a couple of draws in the last 5 weeks and a couple of losses. That's the difference there. But yeah, I just feel a little disappointed. I think C plus sounds about right. It's past. There's nothing really wrong with the season. It's pretty solid, but you would prefer to be in that 10th or 9th spot as opposed to 13th.
Yeah. Absolutely. Next up, we have Wolverhampton Wanderers. They look really bad, like they always seem to do at some point in the season.
Yeah.
They picked up. Look, they would have been fighting for relegation if Brentford and Nottingham Forest didn't have points deductions to worry about.
Yeah.
For a club as resourced as they are, they seem to always have a weird basket case situation, and they're probably going to have to change managers again. I don't know. Wolves, give them a B minus. It seems. Huh? Or do we give C plus or C? C's get degrees, Wolves.
C's get degrees.
Pass.
Yeah, they pass. I was going to say I don't know where to put Wolves because they're all over the shop really, and you say they sort of felt like they should be battling for relegation, and sort of were, but also never really were. So I think C's get degrees.
I think they were close to the bottom of the table for a while.
They were close, but never. I mean, more to do with the fact that Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield were. Well, Burnley and Sheffield especially were doing so poorly. They were never really too much in danger of there. They ended on 46 points. That's a good 20 points clear. I mean, through the middle of the season they were flirting with relegation issues, but I never really felt like they were ever fully involved in the fight. Everton was, and they pulled away. They did pull away at the end, but Everton, mostly because of their points deduction, were very much in the relegation fight and fought their way out. Nottingham Forest got dragged into there and were very much in that. But I never felt Wolves were as deep into it as say those two, who felt like they were actually needing to win these games and to keep themselves up and to keep themselves out. And Everton did a good job of fighting their way out of that. But Wolves didn't really feel like they felt like they were always a win or two ahead of that sort of dogfight. Like they just kept ahead of everything nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. After Wolves, we have Everton.
Yeah.
What is this? Is this Sean Dyche's magnum opus?
Possibly. I mean, got 10 point deducted, dropped down well into the relegation battle, and then fought himself back up to 40 points and 14 points clear of relegation. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And this is an Everton side which is not necessarily, they only just kept out of relegation last year on basically the same points. Which is fun, that 36 points versus 40. But like they've spent the last few years, at these point levels, and haven't looked particularly great. And they this year actually dug it in and showed what I would have always traditionally thought of as the Everton spirit, the Toffee spirit. They're the fighting team. They'll dig it in, fight it as a team, and really and find a way through whatever they're doing, and really battle their way through. And this season's really felt like that. Like they were handed the adversary of 10 points deduction and turned around with we're gonna overcome that and still be good, and they were. So it's hard not to give them an A really, even though they finished down at 15th.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's Sean Dyche's magnum opus. I can't.
You say give them their 10 points that they lost?
Maybe, arguably, even maybe the team of the season.
Maybe, like it's
A plus for sure.
Yeah, with the points they actually earned, they're 10th, and then points deducted off to get to 40, which takes them down to 15th.
Yeah.
So,
because 40 would have generally been good enough for them to not get relegated in a normal season, even.
So, last season they just didn't get relegated on 36 points.
Yeah.
The season before they made 39 points and were 4 points clear, so once again really just. So they got the points they needed to get to. They got to their 40 to be safe. I mean, sure, this season that was plenty safe.
With the point deduction, no less.
That's with points deductions, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
50, they would have been well safe.
50's 10th place. That's top half. That's very awesome. So that's why I think A easy A for them, because
easy A plus. So so I think, like you said, they're a candidate for team of the season. Like, we can't give them anything less than an A plus.
Yeah, exactly.
Arguably one of the team of the seasons in Europe, but we all know who's team of the season in Europe. So no spoilers. Next up, we have the Brentford, a team that just finished outside the relegation battles quite comfortably in the end.
Yeah.
I believe Nottingham Forest had a 4-point deduction.
Yeah, they might have. You might be right. I can't remember what their point deduction was.
Yeah, 6-point deduction because if you 9 wins plus 9 draws, that's 38 points. So they would have. So they got a 6-point deduction, 38. So they would have just finished. Brentford would have still just finished above Nottingham Forest. I think you expect a bit better from Brentford now. Brentford is a team that should be finishing with at least 50 plus points. This is potentially a relegation team in other seasons if the championship teams weren't so poor. So I think Brentford, we have to give them, but they have had huge injuries and they had to re-put Ivan Toney back into the squad and be without him at the beginning. So I think we give him a C+.
C+? I was being a bit more harsh on them. I was thinking C-. I was almost considering giving them a fail mark, even though they didn't get relegated. Because just comparing the season to last and the year before, like it's so much down. And yes, reasons, injuries, Ivan Toney's stuff and everything around that. And that obviously brings in issues and everything. But it's just such a poor performance compared to previous years. Like it's just hard to give them a passing mark based on the fact that you would have expected them to do much better, and they were quite a bit away from the 9th, 10th, even 8th sort of spot where you expect them to be fighting for, maybe not quite making 8th, but being close there. So like I feel like they're a good 20, maybe even 30 points behind where they probably should have been. So that's what makes it hard to give them a pass, but I'm happy they didn't get relegated, so C- seems acceptable. But it's tempting to give them a fail mark because of where I would expect them to actually finish versus where they did.
Yeah, of course. But I think they're valid. Like they're a much smaller club than a lot of the clubs, even the clubs around them. Even the clubs that got relegated.
Yeah. No. So there are reasons for it, and so give them a C- because it is, in the end, it is about us. Like they didn't get relegated. They did what they needed to do. Like, and there was a lot of reasons why things went the way they did. So.
Yeah. But I think we, with that thing, like I think we're just being a bit lenient with Brentford because that squad is nowhere near like a Premiership level squad. Like if we're being honest, they are overperforming based on their squad value and how much they pay their players.
Yeah, there's that as well. So, as I say, I was going on past performances and going should do better, but given the size of the club, given that squad is what it is exactly, given what their actual issues during the year was, like, sure, give them a pass, so C-, pushing a C.
Yeah. Next up we have Nottingham Forest. Look, they had a points deduction, they didn't get relegated, in the end comfortably not relegated. Yeah. So I think we got to give them a C+ as well.
Yeah, I'm happy giving them a C or a C+.
Like nowadays, being your second season in the Premier League does seem to affect you. It seems more dangerous than your first season up, even almost. I think they've performed really, really well, given the circumstances. I'm hard pressed to give them anything less than a C+.
I mean, happy with them. It's still 17th place. So yeah, I think C+. I'm happy with. I mean, to me, their best move was at the beginning of the season, and that was signing Chris Wood. Like that's.
Yeah.
I think he's proven he will keep teams up somehow, some way. He keeps teams up. So yeah, that was their magic. That's why they stayed up. Hard.
Yeah.
A little, not hard, but it's harder for them because of the points deduction. That always adds more problems in. So you add an extra 6 points on, that's 38. It doesn't change their position, but it makes them look a little bit more safer.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, another team next year, and Brentford I expect to do better next year. But like Nottingham Forest, Wolves.
Who knows with Nottingham Forest and Wolves?
Yeah.
And
next year is going to be tougher for them, I feel.
And then there's at least there's a Leicester team coming up and an Ipswich team coming up that could be dangerous, and potentially even Southampton.
Southampton's coming up, and they're dangerous enough.
So,
I mean, there was 4 teams in the Championship last year that were looking very awesome. The 3 that are coming up, Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, and Leeds United. And Leeds United just misses out in the playoff game. So unfortunately, they'll just have to go smash the Championship next year. And even with these 3 coming down, like Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield United, I sort of feel like Leeds is going to run away with the Championship next year.
Yeah, it's a pity for Luton they couldn't stay in the Premier League just because they were going to be in their new stadium next season.
I think
but the fact that we got the Kenilworth Road in the Premier League, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I think we agreed at the beginning of the season. Luton Town, like, it was cool having them up and all, but it was a season too early. So
at least a season too early. I don't think we can give them a fail. They're by far the lowest paid team in the league and actually have the smallest stadium.
I mean, they fought the whole way. Like, the fact that I'm happy
they never gave up.
Yeah.
I think we give them a compassionate C-.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like even though they got relegated and therefore failed, you say the compassionate grounds get bumped up to a C- because dear God, did they fight to the end. Like, they did their best. They tried everything they could to stay up, and that was just amazing. So yeah, as I say, we said at the beginning of the season, I still feel it. Like, it was at least a season too early for them, unfortunately. It was a little bit of a surprise promotion for them, and just sort of showed that they weren't quite ready as a team and as a club and everything. So I'm sure they'll go down. I don't know if they'll bounce straight back up, but I feel like even just in a couple of years we'll be seeing them back, and they'll be doing amazing things.
Yeah, I concur. Next up, Burnley and Sheffield United. We can just pair these.
Yeah.
D-, obviously.
Yeah.
Like Sheffield United, nobody was expecting to step, but they were so bad. Like, they're not quite as bad as that Derby team that only had 9 points. But when you finish below 20 points, that's D-.
Yeah. Exactly.
24 for a club like Burnley, given their manager and the style of play he was doing in the Championship. Excuse me. And I think. Burnley were also still gonna keep him, but he got the Bayern job.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Look, you can't give them anything less than D-. That's the.
No, I think you're right. It's D- for both of them. They're very poor seasons. Say Sheffield United just looked bad. I think for a while there we were even considering whether they were going to get the lowest point total. They did manage to get to 16, which is good. Say Burnley managed to get to 24, which was actually better than they were looking at one point as well. So, but yeah, you can't give either of those teams anything other than a D-. It was very poor all round.
Absolutely.
I mean, they both did enough to be bottom of the table the last few years. It was just that bad.
Yep, absolutely. Next up, we will do a very quick roundup of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, let's go to La Liga, champions of Europe. The eternal champions at this point, I think, would be fair to call them. Real Madrid, A++.
A++. I mean, I don't think they've put a foot wrong.
Nah. Absolutely. I think they have had an absolutely dominating season, 95 points. What can you do? Barcelona, respectable 85, but so many nonsense shenanigans throughout the year with Xavi's going, so he's back, now he's fired. What? Come on, Barca.
Yeah.
What the hell? But, given the amount they spend and what they, the kind of players they have at their disposal, I think 85. Their league position is fair, but I think their actions leave a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm not going to give them an A. I'll give them a B.
Okay.
And Girona, come on, A+, right?
A+, yeah, easy.
Finishing a good 5 points ahead of Atletico Madrid. Gerard Piqué's team. Obviously, he's not the manager, but the owner of that club, along with Manchester City. I think they've done obviously really, really well, but it's super interesting to see them in the Champions League. And their manager is staying, so that's also good news for them.
Yeah.
And Atletico Madrid, Diego Simeone, I think this is going to be his last season at the club. They managed to get up to 4th place again. They put in a good performance in Europe as well. And they won the Copa del Rey. So, overall, you got to give them an A as well, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But other than Real Madrid, like the overall dominance of the Spanish clubs in Europe, not seen much this season. I think the two most interesting leagues this season have been obviously the Bundesliga and the Italian league.
Yeah.
We go to Bundesliga. Is this the best? Is this the team of the season? Bayer Leverkusen.
They lost
Go from Leverkusen to Neverlusen.
Neverlusen. They lost one game, which was the Europa League final.
Yep.
Which, guys, come on. Lose one game in the European final. Good work. But no, it's an amazing feat by them. It was basically go 3 different competitions and lose one game, which is the last game. That's it.
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
90 points in Bundesliga season. Remember, they only play 34 games, so that's even more incredible.
Yeah.
28 wins, 6 draws.
I don't think Bayern's actually...
And best of all, he's not even leaving.
Yeah. Bayern hasn't got that many points. 88. Bayern's closest I could see over the last sort of 10 years was 88 points in 2015-16. So
they're one of the things it looks like they've set a precedent is because the Premier League gave Arsenal a golden trophy. When they were invincible.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. I think they should have done it in retro. They've given one to Preston North End as well for their invincible season back in 1988 because they also won the FA Cup without conceding a goal.
Yeah.
So that a remarkable achievement. But the Bundesliga teams are gonna give them a golden Bundesliga trophy for going undefeated because I think that's fair because that's so hard to do in any league, in any sport.
Yes, going undefeated in any of these leagues, professional top tier leagues, is very hard to do, and they deserve all the kudos to God, and they did really well. And you say it, the Bundesliga is not, whilst it might not be the top league, it's not like it's not without plenty of hard teams in there to have to fight through and to not lose any of them.
And
really
there's a
only
lot
draw
more
6. So,
parity.
yeah.
There's a lot more parity in the Bundesliga as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bayern has never been undefeated in a season, which is, given their history, that's incredible. And both times that they came close, where they lost one game, the team they lost to was Leverkusen. So, look, the memes are over. We can't keep calling them Leverkusen anymore.
No.
Obviously, great performance from the AA+. I think the team below them, second place, VfB Stuttgart, pipping Bayern Munich to get second place. Nice. Incredible.
Nice.
What a performance from them. They got, you got to give them an A+ as well.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich, they finished third, but come on, they got only 72 points.
Yeah.
And that didn't do well. They didn't do as well in Europe as they could have.
Technically, there's more points than they got last year. Last year they only got 71 points. I mean, they won it last year. But...
yeah. But this team is a team in transition. It's harsh to give them a failing grade, so I think their fans are going to be super disappointed. So at least C. I think C- is too harsh.
Yeah.
For a team that finishes third in the league.
Even C+ seems a bit more nicer. Like you say, it's hard to give them a too high a grade given who they are and what they do.
Yeah.
But I mean, they did make it to semi-finals of Champions League as well, so you gotta give them a little bit of that. But yeah, I don't expect them to be in the doldrums for too long. So for sure. To be fair, my kids like to say that they just caught the Harry Kane curse, that was all.
Yeah, it seems like it as well. We'll see next season.
Yeah.
Final top 4, RB Leipzig back in the Champions League. Incredible for them to come back, because at some point they looked like they're going to be very mid-table this season.
Yeah.
But they've done well. They've come back in and they finished 4th. Which means Borussia Dortmund, who were in the finals of the Champions League, finished outside the positions.
Yeah. But they get in with country coefficients. Yeah. No, they get inside with country coefficients next year. So 5th. Germany will have 5 teams as their top 2 in coefficients, right?
Oh, so they're in the Champions League next season.
Just make it into the Champions League. Well, not just, because they're a good, 16 points clear of 6th place. But yeah, they do make it into the Champions League.
Yes.
Helped a lot, I would say, by the fact that they made it to the final of the Champions League.
Yeah. Well, I guess in a way, then they earned their place in the Champions League. They got them through the coefficients.
Yeah. I mean, Leverkusen probably helped as well, so...
They had their chances against Real Madrid. They were just bad. Like I was saying, I was watching that game. I was just saying, like, they're great in the first 3 phases of the game without the ball, recovering the ball, and transitioning into attack. All those 3 phases were amazing.
Yeah.
With the ball and their thing on the final third, the production on the final third was awful.
Yeah.
They should have won. They could have won the league game, and in the end, it looked like a very, well thought out rope-a-dope from Real Madrid, who managed to get 2 goals in the in the end when they had tired out. Yeah.
Because Dortmund were looking pretty good at the start,
right? I think getting to a Bundesliga final is incredible for Dortmund. I think surely that's got to be an A.
Yeah.
Sorry, Champions League final. Beg your pardon.
Yeah, I got to give them an A for making it there. As they, stayed in Champions League spots. Everything. Sure, they'll be disappointed with the 5th place finish in the league, but as you said, the Bundesliga is reasonably flat. Like there's a lot of parity there, so you sort of
Yeah, it is an underperformance because Borussia Dortmund, yes, they're well behind Real Bayern Munich in terms of the amount they spend on their squad and like wages.
Yeah.
But they are well ahead of the third place team in Germany.
Yeah.
So there's a big gap between them and whoever's third place for how much they are able to, how much they spend on players and wages. So,
I mean, this is the lowest they've finished in. Well, you have to go back to the 2014-15 season for them to have finished lower than this.
Yeah, that was Klopp's last season. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as a rule, I think overall we think it's an A, but only because of your Champions League season, and you came so close.
Yeah, exactly.
And that ended up earning you a Champions League spot anyway.
Yeah.
And the final of the big four leagues, and maybe everything, like you and I have been saying, Serie A is where it's at, baby. Like, it's just so interesting every season. Inter Milan, like, almost 20 points ahead. You can't give them anything but an A+.
Yeah, exactly.
AC Milan got to the semi-finals of the Europa League. They went to they won the Italian Cup, so I think that's got to be at least an A.
Yeah.
Juventus back in the top four for now. We don't know if they'll get a points deduction. There are things going on there, but yeah, overall.
When isn't there with Juventus? I mean, really.
Yeah, they're gonna come. They've slowly made their way back into the top four.
Yeah.
After a disappointing season last season, so I think that's got to be at least an A-. Atalanta, fourth place, playing exceptional football. I think also another A-, but another team I gotta give an A+ to, Bologna.
Yeah.
In the Champions League because Italy won the coefficient.
I was going to say, don't forget Atalanta got, the one team to beat Leverkusen.
Yeah.
Winning the
that was Fiorentina.
No, Atalanta. Fiorentina was in the Conference League final. They lost.
Beg your pardon.
Fiorentina lost in the
Champions League. Yeah, that's right.
The Conference League lost. Atalanta won the Europa over.
That's right. Yes, of course.
Leverkusen. So yes, Atalanta, take home a trophy. Either way, made it into the Champions League. So definitely A's there.
And Gasparini finally winning a trophy after his long career with Atalanta. You gotta love it.
That's great.
Definitely. Okay, you're right. It's an A+ for Atalanta. A for Bologna and Fiorentina. Shout out to them making it to the Conference League final, losing to Olympiacos.
Yeah.
But Olympiacos, first Greek club to win a European trophy, so well done to them.
Nice. No, it's definitely good. Roma ended up above Lazio, it was fine, but both of those 6th and 7th Europa spots outside the Champions League spots, so longer for both them to wait.
Yeah, Roma and Lazio outside the Champions League spots again. The Italian football is in an incredible position. Fiorentina will be back in the Conference League next season, looks like, and Roma and Lazio will play in the Europa League. It's incredible to think because they're not even getting that. They had this thing for 5 years where they were allowed to write off some of the taxes for high earners, for people who were moving into the country, because they wanted to attract talent. They're not even getting that anymore. It's the coaching that's coming out of Italy is absolutely top notch. Their teams all play an interesting, different style of football. We shall see. There are a lot of clubs looking for good managers right now, but a lot of coaches are not taking that. I think someone like how Graham Potter moved to Chelsea because he felt like he kind of had to.
Yeah.
Like it was, a player. Whereas a club like Bayern Munich couldn't get someone like Xabi Alonso or Hansi Flick.
Yeah.
Who's going to Barcelona, or Thomas Tuchel, who didn't want to stay, and Nagelsmann, who's decided to stay with Germany till the World Cup.
Yeah.
Next season. So it's this is Bayern Munich we're talking about. If one of the top 3 most successful clubs in European football, right? Like without any question.
Yeah. No, yeah, they can't hold
if
these
they're having
talents.
trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still a great institution in this sport. They're reasonably well run, but it is a huge job, and obviously Bayern, the attention, like people who follow football in Germany have said, like Bayern gets double the attention of Manchester United, Arsenal, and Liverpool combined.
Yeah.
In Germany, that those 3 clubs get in England.
Wow.
Because they are the big club.
They are the big club, yeah.
So, and these clubs in Italy, the managers, I think they're all going to stay.
Yeah.
So, it'll be great to see how they do in Europe next season. Also, how well Italy will do in the Euros.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, this to me was the league to watch this season, as it usually is. Just as soon as Juve's domination ended, it became like this super interesting league.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's not now. I'm not gonna have to bite my words because Inter are gonna become the new Juve. But I doubt that's gonna happen. Because AC Milan also look pretty good, and Juve kind of look like they're back. So it's a lot to look forward to in this league. So many, the top 4 leagues and the Champions League have all been incredible to watch. What was your favorite moment in the football season?
I don't know. I guess it's whilst it was in Germany, it was just playing along and paying attention along to Leverkusen's wonderful season. Like, you didn't really think much of it to begin with. It was pretty cool, and then as the season went on, you realised they could do unbeaten everywhere, and that's just such an amazing thing. The fact that they're unbeaten in the German, in the Bundesliga, in the German Cup was amazing. Sort of sad that they fell at the last hurdle of the Europa League, not to take away that as well, and then be a fully unbeaten team. So it's just any time you have an unbeaten team, it's any competition. It's so amazing.
I think it's, in a way, I'm happy that the 94 Ajax team, 94-95 Ajax team are still the GOAT team, the best season any European clubs ever had.
Yeah.
Because winning the only losing one game, but still winning all 3 trophies.
Yeah.
That was that's never going to be repeated again, I don't think. And obviously winning the Dutch, there's a lot of parity in the Dutch league, so winning the Dutch league is not easy. Is not a given for Ajax. They always have to compete for it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think I know what you mean about Leverkusen, though they've been great to watch. I have to say my favorite moment of the season has to be Kobe Mainoo's goal, which he does the volley while in the air against Liverpool.
Oh yeah.
Just flips around. That goal, he's literally had his back to the goal, turns around in the air, gets the ball on the volley and shoots it into goal. Karl Anke did ask him after the game, like, how did you know there? How did you do that? Your back was to the goal, and he's just like, look, the position of the goal doesn't change, mate.
Yeah, it's fixed in place.
And you just go, man, this kid is a baller.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Like, we've had precious little to basically celebrate this season. I think that's one for me as a United fan. Okay, for the Premier League, we'll just limit it to your young player of the season. Just to be any player who is under 23 and under.
Oh. Now you have to make me think about who's under 23.
I think it's really obvious, but sure. Do you really need to think about it?
I have to think about who's under 23. That's what I have to think about.
Well, okay.
Okay. Cole Palmer's under 23.
Yes,
That's what I was checking. Cole Palmer's my player of the year. So is he under 23? How old is he? I don't know. He's 22. There, Cole Palmer.
Yeah, fair. Absolutely. Cole Palmer is player of the season, I think. I think my player of the year has to be Declan Rice. That impact on this Arsenal team, they've changed. I agree with our friend, the orange-haired one. This is a Virgil van Dijk-like impact on the team.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. So yeah, I think he's definitely made an amazing impact on it. They'll have to push on for next year, because if they continue not getting trophies, then you have to ask questions in here about if you've got such an amazing players, but Declan Rice is just taking them to another level, but yet they're still failing. So I'm sure they'll work it out though.
Yeah, absolutely. But to me, that's my player of the year for the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all we have time for right now. Thank you very much for listening, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. NineSixFourTwo Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.